In a chilling tale of betrayal and retribution, meet El Mago, a once feared cartel member whose world crumbled when whispers of snitching circulated. This video unravels the gripping story of a man who thought he could outsmart the cartel's deadly game, but ended up getting killed. As the shadows of betrayal closed in, El Mago's fate took a sinister turn, revealing the harsh consequences of crossing lines in a world where loyalty is everything. El Mago killed. El Mago, a high-profile member of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel, met a tragic end in a shooting that shook the streets of Willowbrook, Los Angeles. On the morning of November 23rd, law enforcement responded to a scene where two lifeless bodies lay, and another individual was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries. El Mago, whose real name is Eddie Hernandez, was no stranger to the criminal underworld, with a history of involvement in illicit activities. From his childhood in Durango, Mexico, to his later operations in California, El Mago's criminal activities and association with Ivan Archibaldo Guzman, the son of El Chapo, will leave you astounded as his life was shrouded in mystery and danger. El Mago, whose real name is Eddie Hernandez, was a notorious figure within the criminal underworld. Born and raised in the Mexican state of Durango, El Mago's journey into the world of organized crime began at an early age. Growing up in a region plagued by poverty and violence, he found solace and opportunity within the ranks of the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful and feared criminal organizations in the world, has long dominated the drug trade, particularly the trafficking of narcotics into the United States. Led by the infamous Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the cartel has amassed immense wealth and power through its ruthless operations. El Mago's association with the Sinaloa cartel granted him access to a world of luxury and privilege. His Instagram page, filled with photos showcasing his extravagant lifestyle, offered a glimpse into the opulence that came with his illicit activities. From lavish parties to encounters with A-list celebrities, El Mago reveled in the trappings of his criminal empire. Photos of him rubbing shoulders with A-list celebrities, including Al Pacino and Floyd Mayweather, showcased the extent of his connections and the wealth he had amassed. But behind the glitz and glamour lay a dark and dangerous reality. The Sinaloa cartel's operations extended far beyond the realm of wealth and status. They were responsible for flooding the streets of the United States with drugs, particularly the deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl. The United States Drug Enforcement Administration has attributed a significant portion of the fentanyl crisis to the Sinaloa cartel's operations. El Mago's role within the cartel remains somewhat elusive, but his connections to high-ranking members, including Ivan Archibaldo Guzman, son of El Chapo, suggest a position of influence and power. Childhood friends, El Mago and El Chapito, as Ivan Archibaldo is known, shared a bond that extended beyond their criminal endeavors. However, the world of cartels is not without its dangers and betrayals. Just days before El Mago's tragic death, one of El Chapito's closest allies, Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, also known as El Niñi, was apprehended in Mexico. The arrest sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld, leaving many wondering if El Mago's demise was connected to this recent development. El Mago's criminal history is marred by violence and controversy. In 2008, he was suspected of involvement in the fatal shooting of Jose Luis Macias, a rival associated with the cartel Arellano Felix, CAF. The incident highlighted the ongoing power struggles and territorial disputes within the criminal landscape of Los Angeles. Reports from that time suggest that El Mago sought to establish himself as the dominant force within the local faction, facing opposition from Macias, who was once his friend. The shooting marked a turning point in El Mago's criminal career, solidifying his reputation as a ruthless and ambitious figure within the criminal underworld. But on Thanksgiving morning, there was a shooting that shook the streets of Willowbrook, Los Angeles. On the morning of November 23rd, a sense of dread hung heavy in the air as law enforcement responded to a distressing scene in the 14200 block of Town Avenue. Officers arrived to find two lifeless bodies in a parking lot surrounded by warehouses and shipping containers. Among the victims was El Mago, whose life of crime had come to a tragic end. Lieutenant Omar Camacho of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department addressed the media, revealing that the motive behind the shooting remained undisclosed. However, it appeared that the location had been the site of a gathering or party that had taken place from the previous night into the early hours of the morning. The investigation into El Mago's death was met with numerous challenges. The criminal underworld operates under a code of silence, making it difficult for law enforcement to gather information and identify potential suspects. Lieutenant Camacho expressed the department's determination to bring those responsible to justice, but acknowledged the uphill battle they faced. As the investigation progressed, authorities began to focus their attention on a person of interest. While details surrounding this individual remained undisclosed, investigators believe they could hold vital information that would shed light on the circumstances surrounding El Mago's death. The investigation into El Mago's death is a race against time, as detectives work tirelessly to gather evidence, interview witnesses, and piece together the events leading up to the shooting. The streets of Willowbrook are filled with tension as the community grapples with the aftermath of this shocking crime. The tragic death of El Mago not only highlighted the dangers of a life entrenched in organized crime, but also exposed the vulnerability of those who operate within its ranks. In a world where loyalty is fleeting and betrayal is commonplace, no one is safe from the violence that permeates the criminal underworld. The shooting sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld, leaving many to speculate about the potential motives behind the attack. Some suggested that it could be linked to the recent arrest of El Chapito's close ally, El Nini. The timing of these events raised questions about potential power struggles and internal conflicts within the Sinaloa cartel. Had El Mago snitched on his fellow cartel member leading to his arrest? And who exactly is El Nini? The truth behind the capture of one of the most notorious figures in the criminal underworld, Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, better known as El Nini, is shocking. As the alleged security chief for a Sinaloa cartel faction operated by the sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, El Nini's arrest sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld. Accused of overseeing the security of the cartel cell known as Los Chapitos, he has been indicted on multiple charges, including drug trafficking and witness retaliation. But what really happened leading up to his capture? In the treacherous world of drug cartels, power and violence go hand in hand. Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, known by his chilling moniker El Nini, was a man who thrived in this dark realm. Born and raised in Culiacan, Mexico, El Nini was destined to become a key player in the notorious Sinaloa cartel. El Nini's journey into the criminal underworld began when he caught the attention of Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar, the son of the infamous drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Recognizing El Nini's potential, Ivan took him under his wing, grooming him to become the chief of security for the Chapitos wing of the cartel. Under Ivan's guidance, El Nini quickly rose through the ranks, earning a reputation for his ruthlessness and unwavering loyalty. He became the enforcer, the man who ensured that the Chapitos' operations ran smoothly and their enemies were swiftly dealt with. But it was his alleged involvement in feeding rival cartel members to tigers that truly solidified his fearsome reputation. In the shadowy world of drug cartels, violence and brutality are the currency of power. El Nini, the enforcer for the notorious Chapitos wing of the Sinaloa cartel, characterized his command with a reign of terror, which left a trail of bloodshed and fear in its wake. El Nini's rise to power was marked by a series of shocking crimes that sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld. One of the most chilling aspects of his reign was his alleged involvement in feeding rival cartel members to tigers. This macabre method of disposing of enemies became a symbol of the Chapitos' ruthlessness and their willingness to go to any lengths to maintain control. But the tigers were not the only tools of terror at El Nini's disposal. He commanded a group known as Los Ninas, a highly trained and heavily armed faction within the Chapitos. This group operated with military precision, carrying out kidnappings, torture, and even murder. They were the enforcers, the ones who ensured that the Chapitos' enemies met a gruesome fate. Under El Nini's command, the Chapitos expanded their operations, flooding the United States with drugs. Cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl flowed freely across the border, fueling addiction and destroying lives. The Sinaloa cartel became synonymous with violence and bloodshed, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The Chapitos' power extended far beyond the drug trade. They had infiltrated every aspect of society, corrupting law enforcement agencies and government officials. Their influence was felt in every corner of Mexico as they operated with impunity, seemingly untouchable. But the tides were turning. The Mexican government, in collaboration with the United States, launched a massive operation to bring down the Chapitos and their chief enforcer, El Nini. The hunt for him intensified, with law enforcement agencies closing in on his every move. As the pressure mounted, cracks began to appear in the Chapitos' armor. Rival cartels saw an opportunity to strike, sensing weakness in the face of the relentless pursuit by law enforcement. The streets of Culiacan became a battleground as the Chapitos fought to maintain their grip on power. The Chapitos, led by Ivan, were a force to be reckoned with. They operated with impunity, their power extending far beyond the borders of Mexico. With El Nini by their side, they controlled a vast network of drug trafficking routes, flooding their neighbors up north with cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. The United States government had been closely monitoring El Nini's activities for years. In February 2021, a federal grand jury returned an indictment against him, charging him with cocaine and methamphetamine trafficking conspiracy. But it wasn't just drug trafficking that El Nini was involved in. He was also indicted for possession of machine guns and destructive devices, as well as witness retaliation. The State Department recognized the threat El Nini posed and offered a staggering $3 million reward for information leading to his arrest and conviction. This reward served as a testament to the severity of his crimes and the urgency with which law enforcement agencies sought to bring him to justice. As the pressure mounted, El Nini's grip on power seemed unshakable. He led the Los Nini in carrying out the cartel's most brutal acts, including kidnappings, torture, and even murder to stay at the top. They operated with military precision, instilling fear in anyone who dared to oppose the Chapitos. But the tides were about to turn. The Mexican government, in collaboration with the United States, launched a massive operation to bring down El Nini and dismantle the Chapitos criminal empire. The hunt for El Nini intensified, with law enforcement agencies closing in on his every move. And then, on a fateful day in Culiacan, the long arm of the law finally caught up with El Nini. Mexico's National Guard, acting on intelligence provided by their American counterparts, apprehended him in a daring raid. The news of his capture sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld as the once untouchable El Nini was finally brought to justice. United States President Joe Biden praised the arrest, acknowledging the joint efforts of both Mexico and the U.S. in making their nation safer. In a statement released by the White House, President Biden expressed his gratitude to Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and the brave men and women of the Mexican security forces who carried out the operation. The capture of El Nini marked a significant victory in the fight against drug trafficking and a blow to the Sinaloa cartel. It was a testament to the relentless pursuit of justice and the unwavering determination of law enforcement agencies to bring down those who profit from the suffering of others. But the story doesn't end here. As the trial of El Nini unfolds, the world will be watching closely to see justice served. The capture of this notorious figure is just the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards dismantling the criminal networks that threaten the safety and security of nations. With El Nini being such a powerful figure in the cartel world, his capture and El Mago's sudden death have been a subject of discussion. Remember, a powerful cartel member cannot be killed by just anyone. The retaliation that would follow an ordinary thug who took the life of a cartel member would not be worth it. Therefore, many are led to believe that El Mago was killed on command from higher-ups in the cartel. Cartel higher-ups do not kill their influential soldiers without good cause, as it would lead to uproar and infighting within the cartel. And we all know the one cardinal sin that can have the cartel kill its members in a heartbeat: snitching. Maybe El Mago was an informant. Only time will tell. Los Chapitos. The capture of El Nini and the tragic shooting of El Mago are not the only times Los Chapitos has made headlines. With El Chapo behind bars, the Sinaloa cartel seems to have taken a back seat as Los Chapitos has continued to grow in leaps and bounds. So who exactly are Los Chapitos and what makes them so formidable? Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar. These are the four sons of El Chapo, who have taken up the mantle of their father's criminal empire. Their criminal activities span from drug trafficking to illegal mining, fishing, and migrant smuggling. They have even become major producers and traffickers of fentanyl and methamphetamine to the United States. But it's not all smooth sailing for Los Chapitos. They face fierce opposition from El Mayo and their uncle El Guano as they fight for control over the cartel's operations. Their clashes with rival criminal organizations, such as the Beltran Leyva organization and the CJNG, have intensified, leaving a trail of violence and bloodshed in their wake. These four sons have not only inherited their father's name, but also his criminal legacy. From a young age, they were exposed to the inner workings of the cartel, witnessing the power, wealth, and danger that came with it. Growing up in the shadow of their notorious father, Los Chapitos were groomed to take over the reins of the Sinaloa cartel. They were taught the art of deception, the importance of loyalty, and the ruthlessness required to survive in this cutthroat world. Their father's empire became their playground, and they were destined to leave their mark. As they came of age, Los Chapitos began to assert their authority within the cartel. They proved their worth through acts of violence and strategic decision-making. Their involvement in the criminal underworld became more prominent, and their reputation grew with each passing day. Ovidio Guzman Lopez, in particular, gained attention due to his brazen involvement in the cartel's operations. He became known for his audacity and willingness to confront Mexican security forces head-on. Ovidio's clashes with authorities only solidified his status as a force to be reckoned with, further fueling the legend of Los Chapitos. But Los Chapitos didn't stop at traditional drug trafficking. They recognized the changing dynamics of the drug market and adapted accordingly. They saw the growing demand for synthetic drugs such as fentanyl and methamphetamine and seized the opportunity to expand their operations. Los Chapitos became major producers and traffickers of fentanyl and methamphetamine, flooding the United States with their deadly products. Their ability to adapt to the evolving drug landscape set them apart from their rivals. They understood that to stay on top, they needed to stay one step ahead. Their influence in the synthetic drug trade skyrocketed as they established connections with international suppliers and distributors. They built a network that spanned continents, ensuring a steady flow of drugs into lucrative markets. Los Chapitos had become a force to be reckoned with, leaving a trail of addiction and destruction in their wake. But their rise to power was not without its challenges. Los Chapitos faced opposition from the old guard of the Sinaloa cartel, particularly Ismael Zambada Garcia, alias El Mayo. This internal power struggle created a rift within the organization, leading to violent clashes between the factions. Despite the challenges, Los Chapitos continued to assert their dominance. They recruited allies, expanded their influence in various regions, and even made inroads into Mexico City, a territory once considered untouchable. Their audacity and determination knew no bounds. Today, Los Chapitos stand at the precipice of power, their empire expanding with each passing day. Their rise to power has been nothing short of extraordinary, as they have carved their own path in the criminal underworld. But the question remains, will they be able to maintain their grip on power, or will their rivals succeed in toppling their empire? Adding to the complexity of the power struggle is Los Chapitos' uncle, Aureliano Guzman Loera, alias El Guano. El Guano, a figure with his own ambitions, has also challenged Los Chapitos' authority within the cartel. This family feud has further intensified the internal power struggle, creating a web of alliances and rivalries within the criminal organization. But it's not just internal conflicts that Los Chapitos must contend with. They have also found themselves locked in deadly clashes with rival criminal organizations. One of their top enemies is the Beltran Leyva organization, a group that has long sought to challenge the dominance of the Sinaloa cartel. The rivalry between these two powerful factions has resulted in a wave of violence and bloodshed. Another formidable rival is the Jalisco Cartel New Generation CJNG, a rising force in Mexico's criminal landscape. The CJNG, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, has set its sights on expanding its influence and challenging the Sinaloa cartel's control. This clash of titans has led to a brutal turf war, with both sides vying for dominance over Mexico's lucrative criminal economies. The battles between Los Chapitos and their rivals have left a trail of violence and destruction in their wake. Assassinations, kidnappings, and brutal acts of retribution have become commonplace as these criminal organizations fight tooth and nail for control. The stakes are high and the consequences are deadly. Despite the opposition they face, Los Chapitos have continued to assert their dominance. They have strategically recruited allies, forming alliances with other factions within the Sinaloa cartel. These alliances have allowed them to strengthen their position and expand their influence in various regions, including Mexico City, a territory once considered untouchable. Los Chapitos' audacity and determination have propelled them forward, but the road to power is fraught with danger. They must navigate treacherous waters, constantly on guard against betrayal from within and attacks from rival organizations. Their empire hangs in the balance as they fight to secure their place at the top of the criminal hierarchy. The primary criminal activity of Los Chapitos is international drug trafficking. They have mastered the art of smuggling illicit substances across borders, capitalizing on the insatiable demand for drugs. Their reach extends far beyond Mexico's borders. Los Chapitos have established connections with international suppliers and distributors, ensuring a steady flow of drugs into lucrative markets. Their network spans continents, allowing them to tap into the insatiable demand for drugs around the world. But Los Chapitos' criminal activities go beyond drug trafficking. They have diversified their operations, recognizing the need to expand their empire. They have ventured into illegal mining, exploiting valuable resources to further fuel their wealth and influence. They have also delved into illegal fishing, taking advantage of Mexico's rich coastal waters. Migrant smuggling is another lucrative enterprise for Los Chapitos. They have capitalized on the desperation of those seeking a better life, exploiting their vulnerability for financial gain. This dark side of their operations has further cemented their control over their territories as they profit from the suffering of others. Speaking of territories, Los Chapitos' stronghold lies in the state of Sinaloa, particularly in the city of Culiacan. This region has long been associated with the Sinaloa cartel, and Los Chapitos have solidified their control over this strategic territory. From here, they have expanded their influence into other Mexican states, including Chihuahua, Sonora, and Baja California. But Los Chapitos' ambitions don't stop at regional dominance. They have set their sights on Mexico City, a territory once considered untouchable. Their audacity knows no bounds as they encroach upon the capital, challenging the established criminal organizations that have long held sway over the city's criminal activities. However, their territorial expansion has not gone unnoticed. The CJNG El Mencho has emerged as a formidable rival, which seeks to expand its influence and challenge the Sinaloa cartel's control. This rivalry has ignited a brutal turf war, with both sides vying for dominance over Mexico's criminal economies. Despite the challenges they face, Los Chapitos remain undeterred. Their territorial expansion, specialization in synthetic drug trafficking, and growing reputation have solidified their position within the criminal underworld. They have proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, leaving their rivals scrambling to keep up. But the battle for dominance is far from over. El Mayo's deep roots within the Sinaloa cartel and his ongoing resistance suggest that the power struggle will continue. The recent arrest of Ovidio Guzman Lopez and the ban on fentanyl production may have temporarily weakened Los Chapitos, but they are resilient. Their influence and control are likely to continue evolving as they adapt to the ever-changing landscape of the criminal underworld. And that is why betrayal of any kind is being dealt with swiftly and decisively. The arrest of Los Chapitos' enforcer comes as a blow, and in El Mago did snitch, one can understand why he had to be dealt with immediately. Anything short of his head would increase internal pressure in the cartel and cause further divisions which would weaken them and leave them vulnerable to their enemies. Before El Nini's arrest, Los Chapitos suffered the arrest of one of their high-ranking members, Ovidio Guzman Lopez. Recognizing the threat posed by Ovidio and his brother, the United States government offered a staggering reward of up to $5 million for information leading to their arrest. The Guzman brothers had become a top priority for law enforcement agencies on both sides of the border. The stage was set for a high-stakes operation that would send shockwaves through the criminal underworld. The Mexican authorities, with the support of their American counterparts, meticulously planned the capture of Ovidio Guzman Lopez. Their goal was to dismantle his faction of the Sinaloa cartel and bring him to justice for his alleged crimes. The operation was set in motion when a crucial tip-off revealed Ovidio's location in Culiacan, the capital city of Sinaloa. The authorities wasted no time, mobilizing a team of highly trained officers to apprehend him. But little did they know, this would be no ordinary arrest. As the authorities closed in on Ovidio's hideout, they were met with fierce resistance from gang members loyal to the Guzman family. The streets of Culiacan became a battleground as the cartel's foot soldiers fought tooth and nail to protect their leader. Roadblocks were set up, vehicles were set ablaze, and chaos erupted throughout the city. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, with the gang members unleashing a wave of violence and retaliation. The Mexican authorities found themselves in a deadly game of cat and mouse as they fought to regain control of the city and apprehend Ovidio. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the Mexican authorities called in reinforcements. Helicopter gunships were deployed to support the ground operation as the battle for Culiacan intensified. The skies above the city became a war zone, with bullets flying and explosions echoing through the air. Amidst the chaos, Ovidio, true to his nickname, managed to evade capture. He slipped through the authorities' grasp, disappearing into the labyrinthine streets of Culiacan. But the authorities were relentless in their pursuit, determined to bring him to justice. Hours turned into a tense and nerve-wracking search as the authorities combed through the city, following every lead and tip. Finally, their efforts paid off. Ovidio was located and surrounded with no means of escape. In a surprising turn of events, Ovidio chose to surrender peacefully. The once elusive son of El Chapo was now in custody, his reign of terror coming to an abrupt end. The authorities wasted no time in ensuring his transfer to Mexico City, where he would face charges and be held in a maximum security federal prison. The news of Ovidio's arrest spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of outrage and retaliation from the cartel's loyal foot soldiers. Gang members took to the streets, setting up roadblocks and unleashing a reign of terror on the city of Culiacan. The once bustling streets became a ghost town as fear gripped the hearts of its residents. The violence escalated to unprecedented levels. Gang members targeted law enforcement officers, ambushing them and engaging in fierce gun battles. The authorities found themselves outgunned and outnumbered, struggling to regain control of the city they once knew. In a desperate attempt to quell the chaos, the Mexican authorities deployed additional forces to Culiacan. Armored vehicles rolled through the streets as heavily armed officers fought to restore order. But the cartel's grip on the city seemed unbreakable. The violence and unrest had far-reaching consequences. Over 100 flights were canceled, leaving travelers stranded and disrupting the city's connectivity. Schools were forced to shut their doors as the safety of students and staff could no longer be guaranteed. The aftermath of Ovidio's arrest left a scar on the city of Culiacan, a reminder of of the power and influence wielded by the Guzman family. It was a stark reminder that the war against drug cartels was far from over. One can see the lengths that Los Chapitos will go to protect their top brass. So, if El Mago really had anything to do with El Niño's capture, we can all see why he is now dead. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.